Hello everyone, this is Adeline Cantaveras and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So for today's video is going to be all about the isometries in plane, the geometric transformations. But before we go to the video, please like and subscribe because I would really appreciate it. So now, let's get into the video. Transformations in geometry. Basically, what they are is changing an original size, shape, or position of a figure to create a new image. So there are four types of transformations. The first one we have is the dilation. This is when we enlarge or reduce a figure. The second one we have is rotation. This is when we rotate a figure on a certain degree around a point. The third one we have is the translations. This is when we slide a figure in any direction without changing the size, the shape, or the orientation. The last one we have is the reflection or flipping. So basically, this is when we flip a figure over a line. Certain transformations are more specifically described and we call those as isometry. Isometry is a transformation where the original shape and new image are congruent, or they are called a rigid transformation. Only rotations, translations, and reflections are isometry. So the reason why dilations is not an isometry, it is because you're changing the size of the shape, so these two are never going to be congruent when you have a dilation. So today's video, we will only be focusing on one type of transformation, which is reflection. Reflection, there are three reflections that you need to know. The reflection over the x-axis, the y-axis, and the reflection over the origin. So for you to understand more the concept of reflections, we also need to know what are the quadrants. So we have four quadrants, quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. So quadrant 1, this is where x and y are both positive. Quadrant 2, wherein x is negative and y is positive. The quadrant 3, this is where both x and y are negative. And the quadrant 4, wherein x is positive and y is negative. If we're going to reflect something over the x-axis, it's going to move from quadrant 1 to quadrant 4 and it's going to flip at the same time. So you can see the blue triangle is the reflection of the red triangle. And let's say we have points x and y. So if we're going to multiply the y coordinates by -1, that's going to be x minus y. So that's how you can reflect it over the x-axis. Now let's talk about the reflections over the y-axis. So when you reflect it over the y-axis, it's going to flip over the y-axis. So when we multiply it to y-axis, we need to multiply the x coordinate by -1. So for example, we have the points x and y. So the new points will be -x and y. It is because the x coordinates are multiplied by the -1. So that's how you reflect on the y-axis. Now, the next thing that we're going to talk about is reflections over the origin. Now, let's say we have a triangle in quadrant 1. What's going to happen if we reflect it over the origin? To reflect it from origin, we're going to move from quadrant 1 to quadrant 3. Remember that reflecting over the origin is equivalent to reflecting it over the x-axis and y-axis, or could be from y-axis first and then the x-axis. So for example, in our figure, if we reflect it over the y-axis, it will look like this. And then if we reflect the green triangle over the x-axis, it's going to look like this. So from red to blue, that reflection above the origin and vice versa. Note, when you reflect an image or figure from above the origin, you need to multiply the x and y values by -1. More examples. For this example, reflect on the image above the x-axis. So we have here points A, B, and C. Point A have coordinates of -6 and 1, while point B have coordinates of -4 and 4, and C have coordinates of -1 and 1. And now, in order for us to reflect above the x-axis, we need to multiply the y-axis to -1. So the coordinates or the points now are going to be, so from the point A, it's going to be -6 and -1, since 1 times negative 1 is going to be negative 1. B is going to be negative 4 and negative 4, while C is now negative 1 and negative 1. Therefore, these are the new points for the points A, B, and C. So now, since we knew already the coordinates of the points, we can now plot the reflection or the figure. Therefore, the first point is negative 6 and negative 1. The B is going to be negative 4 and negative 4. And last point, which is the C, is going to be negative 1 and negative 1. As you can see, the image or the figure just flipped above the x-axis. So this is the idea or the concept of the reflections above the x-axis. I have many more examples from the reflections above the y-axis and the origin, but that's gonna be on the next video. So for today, this is gonna be the end of this discussion. I hope you guys understood and just learned from this topic or discussion. So if you guys have any more questions, just comment down below and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. And thank you guys so much for watching. Bye!